Hey everybody, this is Ryan from RevivalOrRiots.org. I wanted to put out this video to tell you guys about some insight that God has given us out of the scriptures on how to effectively go about transforming a city through the power and the love of God. In our experience over the last 4 or 5 years, we've gone about a whole lot of different methods of trying to see transformation happen in our city. We've tried prophetic evangelism, dream interpretation, healing, deliverance, holding up signs that say free healing, getting t-shirts made that say free healing, going to all kinds of different events where there's a lot of people around, hoping that we'd be able to minister life to people and set them free. And in and throughout all these experiences, we've seen good things happen. We've seen people get saved, we've seen people get healed, delivered, set free of all kinds of different oppressions. But the reality has been that over all the years that we've been doing these different things and trying these different methods to try and see transformation happen in our city, we've not seen the kind of results that you see in the scriptures. It wasn't until we read a book called Organic Church by Neil Cole that things really started changing around in terms of our thinking and how to go about transforming our cities. In his book, he talks a lot about Luke chapter 10 and what a lot of people have coined Luke 10 evangelism. And then that was expanded a lot in the Luke 10 manual by Stephen W. Hill. You can pick up a copy of the Luke 10 manual at our website at RevivalOrRiots.org. And if you'd like, you could check out Steve and his wife Marilyn's website at harvest-now.org. But for us to really expect that we're going to see the same kind of results that Jesus and his disciples saw, I think it would probably be advantageous to us if we would look back to what Jesus said about going out into the cities. So if you turn to Luke chapter 10, I'm going to point out some things that you've probably not heard or seen before about these scriptures. It's whenever Jesus sends out the 72 disciples. After this, the Lord appointed 72 others, and he sent them 2 by 2 ahead of him into every city and place that he was going to come. He said to them, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest." Now you'll notice here, first of all, that he doesn't say, pray that God would bring a harvest. He says the harvest is already plentiful now. There's a lot of people that are teaching that there's some coming great revival, and I'm telling you guys that that is entirely not true. That is completely the opposite of what Jesus says here in this chapter. He says that the harvest is already ripe. The harvest is already plentiful. That's good news. Go, behold, I send you out as lambs among wolves. Carry no money belt, no bag, no shoes, greet no one on the way. Whatever house you enter, first say peace to this house. If a man of peace is there, your peace will rest with him. But if not, it will return to you. Stay in that house, eating and drinking, whatever they give you, for the laborer is worthy of his wages. Do not keep moving from house to house. Whatever city you enter, and they receive you, eat what is set before you. Heal the sick in that city, and say to them, the kingdom of God has come near to you. But whatever city you enter and they do not receive you, go into its streets and say, even the dust of your city, which clings to our feet, we wipe off and protest against you. Yet be sure of this, the kingdom of God has come near. One of the first things that I want to draw your attention to in this passage in Luke chapter 10 is the fact that whenever we first got started with an understanding of healing and deliverance and that kind of thing, we thought that if all we could do is get a whole bunch of people to go out into the streets praying for the sick and setting people free, that we'd have revival. Unfortunately, we found that to be not so true. In Luke 10 verse 5, Jesus says, whatever house you enter, first say peace to this house. I want to share something with you guys that we learned from Neil Cole's book, Organic Church. If you actually do a historical study and a Greek study of that word house in Luke chapter 10, it comes back to the word oikos or oika. The thing about that word, and especially in a Hebrew context, it didn't always necessarily just mean house in the sense of like a physical building where a family, like a father, a mother, and 3 children lived. In a Hebrew or Eastern culture, an oikos was not just speaking of a physical dwelling place where people lived, it was also speaking of a sphere of influence. Because in an Eastern culture, people who live in a house or in a region are not always just an immediate family. A lot of times there's aunts, uncles, grandparents, friends, that kind of thing. So when Jesus was saying, whenever you enter a house, whenever you enter an oikos, he wasn't saying whenever you just go and knock on someone's door and show up at their house, just stay there. He wasn't talking about that. He was saying whenever you enter a sphere of influence, a people group, first find a person of peace. Now, when Jesus was talking about a person of peace, essentially he was talking about a person who has influence in that group of people. Whenever Jesus was saying, find a person of peace and allow your peace to remain with him, essentially what he was saying is find the person that has the most influence in that people group and demonstrate the kingdom of God to him. Demonstrate that you are a peaceful person, that you come in peace, that you were entirely just interested in getting to know them and loving them and showing them a better way to live their life. Then Jesus says, if that man received you, your peace will remain with him. If not, it will come back. Basically, one of the easiest ways to figure out what a person of peace is to go into some kind of community, whether it's a coffee shop, a bar, a lounge, even churches in some situations, and look for the person that everyone in that people group looks up to. Whenever you do that, you have found the person of peace. Whenever you find that person that seems to have the most influence in a people group, that's how you know that that person is what Jesus called the person of peace. Then in verse 7, Jesus says, stay in that house, that oikos, that sphere of influence, eating and drinking whatever they give you. Now understand again that Jesus was speaking to Jews in a Jewish culture who had Jewish mindsets. In an Eastern culture, whenever you're eating and drinking with someone, when you're breaking bread with people, you're already in covenant relationship with them of some kind. Eating and drinking with people in an Eastern culture is not looked at lightly. It's looked at in the sense of, these are my friends, I'm breaking bread with them because I care about them and I care about what they care about. So when Jesus was saying, eat and drink whatever's set before you, essentially he's saying, build rapport with these people, build relationship with them, not because you're just trying to get them saved or trying to get them healed or trying to get them to pray a prayer or anything like that, but simply because you want to demonstrate the love and the power and the compassion that Jesus Christ has for people. That is what we see in the life of Jesus Christ. The sinners were the ones that loved to be around him, and it was the religious community that frankly didn't like being around him too much because of the hypocrisy that they demonstrated whenever they were dealing with people. It's interesting that Jesus specifically says here, do not keep moving from oikos to oikos. Do not keep moving from place to place. When you enter a place and are received, heal the sick in that place. So just to paraphrase exactly what Jesus is saying here in Luke chapter 10, pretty much he was telling the disciples, guys, find a place that has a lot of people that kind of hang out together. Find a family of people, a sphere of influence, an oikos, whatever that looks like to you and in the city that you go into. Don't go from place to place. Find a person there who has influence in that community and demonstrate who I am to them. Show them that the kingdom of God is within you. Show them unconditional love. Show them who I am. Eat with them, drink with them, get to know them. Get to know what makes them tick, what makes them cry, what makes them laugh. And don't do it simply because you're trying to get them converted. Do it because you legitimately understand unconditional love. Whenever you're received in that community, people will start to notice that there's something different about you, that you carry yourself different, that you don't have the same kind of problems that they have, and that you're not complaining about the same kind of things that they're complaining about. And then what happens is they're going to start asking you questions. They're going to start asking you, hey, what is it that you believe? What is it that you hold dear to you? What is it that you do? And more importantly, why are you not having the same kind of problems that I'm having in my family? Jesus was saying that you guys are going out as salt, light, and leaven, that you are going to go out as agents of transformation into every environment that you are put into. And then he says, whenever you're in those cities, heal the sick in those cities. So essentially, the way that happens is you build up a reputation as a person who can heal the sick. You build up a reputation as a person who models unconditional love. And I assure you, when you start doing that, people start paying attention and they start telling their friends, and then their friends start telling their friends, and so on and so forth. And instead of having this kind of empire building mentality, like unfortunately a lot of churches do today, you function from a kingdom mentality which spreads outwards into all the people groups and all of the surrounding areas. That, my friends, is how you will transform a city. By cultivating relationship with people, by building up a reputation as somebody who knows and can demonstrate the love of the living God and his power. If you do a study on the miracles of Jesus Christ, you'll find some interesting statistics. My friend Michael Saxbury put together an amazing article about this kind of thing, and I'll add a link to that article on this video. But you'll notice that about 60 to 70% of the miracles that Jesus did were people that came to him. And you'll notice as you read through the Gospels that Jesus wasn't going around specifically looking for people to heal and that kind of thing. You'll notice that a lot of people came to him and were following him around. How does that happen? That happens whenever you build rapport and relationship with people and they start to understand that you are someone who legitimately cares about them. that you're not trying to proselytize them, that you're not just trying to get them to pray a prayer, and that you're not just trying to record some video to put them on the internet as your latest healing miracle. I used to do all that kind of stuff, guys. We all did. And we've grown out of it because we understood that it doesn't actually make disciples. I'm not saying that it's bad to go praying for people. I'm not saying that it's bad to approach people on the street and minister to them. Quite the contrary. What I am saying is that there is a depth of responsibility that comes whenever you're demonstrating the kingdom of God that requires you to pour your life out for people. And unfortunately, a lot of what has happened with people who've gotten an understanding of the kingdom of God within them and the power of God is that they have made it more about going out and just finding random people to heal and recording it and putting it on the internet or whatever, versus what Jesus said, which was to cultivate relationship with people and actually pour your lives into them and let them pour their lives out to you. Because that is what will actually get people to open up to you and realize that you legitimately love them. Unfortunately, a lot of us, when we first got started with this stuff, we were unconsciously viewing people as projects instead of people who needed love and compassion and discipleship. So all this to say, guys, I just want to encourage you, study Luke chapter 10. Pick up a copy of Organic Church by Neil Colt. Pick up a copy of the Luke 10 manual by Stephen W. Hill and his wife Marilyn. And you're going to see such a drastically different but practical solution to the frustrations that I guarantee you that if you've been healing the sick for any length of time that you've started experiencing. Find a place where there's a group of people that is consistent in showing up at that place. Start building rapport and relationship with those people. Find a person there who has influence with those people and start pouring your life out to them too. And I guarantee you that you're going to see amazing things happen. The one thing I will caution you on with this, guys, is that it does take time. You can't just build relationship with someone the first time that you meet them. Now, I'm not saying that you can't minister to somebody, you can't get to know somebody in a short period of time, but in order for people to legitimately trust you, especially if you're going into dark places like bars and nightclubs and stuff like that, take it from us, believe me, we've tried it. You can't just go up to people and try and lay hands on them and get them healed or something like that without them thinking that you're out of your mind crazy. But when they trust you and they understand that you legitimately love them, that's when you'll see transformation. Take Jesus' advice, guys. Don't go from place to place. Pick a place, stay there, build rapport with people, build relationship, and you watch what happens. I love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.